today, not Brendan Upton. I work directly for Autodesk, and I'm doing this on behalf of A2K, and this will be a webinar covering AutoCAD LT to Revit LT, and then we're going to touch a little bit on the building design suites and the full version of Revit. So we will commence. So this is going to be a presentation on how to move with some of the 2D data into the 3D parametric BIM world. Quick legal disclaimer. This is just what our lawyers put on the front of our presentations before we start talking. Take a quick second just to review that, and we'll move on. So the agenda for today, it's going to be overviews of how to pick up some of your 2D data and then bring it into the Revit building information modeling world and start commencing with what we call parametric modeling. I'm going to do an overview of families, which are kind of like AutoCAD blocks. This is where you can start bringing in manufacturers' data and customizing your own 3D parametric modeling families for populating your BIM models. And then finally, a snapshot of some of our tools like Autodesk 360, which you get on subscription. And this is where you can start to do things like storing your data on the cloud, using cloud rendering tools to speed up renderings for presentation, and also doing some basic conceptual energy analysis. And then finally I'm going to finish with the building design suites, and this will mainly be on the building design suite premium. So this is the suite that you purchase if you want to get the full version of Revit, plus you're going to get some other tools like all the flavors of AutoCAD, Recap, which is for laser scanning, Showcase, 3ds Max Design, and Navisworks Simulate. So I'll go over some of those tools at the end of the presentation. So just a quick brief intro about myself. So I work directly for Autodesk. I'm a BIM evangelist for the company, responsible for the Australia and New Zealand regions. I was fortunate enough to get involved with the 2014 release with designing the demo data set. This is just a snapshot of the original model. The one that ships with Revit is a little bit dulled down a little bit. But this is just an example of the level of detail that you can go to with a building information model. You can collaborate with other structural engineers and mechanical engineers, add all the pipe work, add all the structural details. In the full version of Revit, we have add-ins that allow you to go right down to the stud work or the framework inside of your walls, should you want to be producing all that level of detail in your model. So to kick off, I'm going to give you a very quick overview of how you can work with that 2D data, bring it into the Revit environment, set it up, link in some of those files, and then work with what we call templates and object styles. So what I'm going to do just now, I just want to make sure that the delay isn't too bad. So I am doing this as a PowerPoint today because whenever we try and push through live demos, there's a lot of lags trying to push it through Citrix. So we just want to make sure that you're seeing the same screen as what's being presented at my end. Okay, so when you start off in the Revit application, for those of you moving from the AutoCAD workflow, you've probably got a number of shortcut keys that you've used to do your drawings over the years. The same thing can be customized within the Revit options. So we can go in here and we can customize all our hotkeys or our shortcut keys for doing automated processes. So when you want to modify something, you just hit ND. You don't have to hit the space bar or the return key to complete the command. You just type it in and it's going to do that tool command prompt for you. And when you go and look at some of the ribbon interface and you hover over some of the tools, you'll see a little 3D viewer here showing you what the tool is going to do. Sometimes there's a video animation, and in brackets next to that command is the hotkey. So you can see here for creating a wall, I can just type WA, or for creating a door, I can type DR, and instantly it's going to start that command prompt. When you move into starting a Revit model, what we have is templates. So when you fire up the application, it's going to pop up and say what type of template do you want. So it could be construction, architectural, MEP. And these are all geared up to display certain information or certain properties and certain levels and grids, etc. To start off that template. So when you perhaps start off with a structural template, it will be geared up to have certain components loaded in, certain types of annotation, and certain levels of display. What a lot of firms do with the support of their resellers is they customize the templates. So every time someone starts a new project, the template will be loaded up, or you can browse to your network and load up this template. And it's going to bring in all the information that you need to start up that project and get up and running. So out of the box, Revit, you can start working with the default template. But once you get going and you've got a customized template, it's going to help you with your project startups. So this is the basic interface that's coming up on the screen now. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a ribbon interface. This was released in 2010, where we made it a lot simpler and cleaner for a lot of our products to intuitively move around the tools. So in your tabs here, what's showing on the screen here is the full version of Revit. Revit LT doesn't have systems, and that's your mechanical, electrical and plumbing parts, and it does have some limited structural components. There's a few other things it doesn't have in the LT version. That's the analysis tool, some of the collaboration stuff, and the add-ins. So a lot of these add-ins that I have within my version of Revit, that's the full version of Revit. You can't get access to that in the light version. So it is out of the box. You can't get the add-ins, or what we call the API, the application program interface. So when you hover over these tools, you're going to be able to get this little video or a screen splash showing you what the tools do before you actually launch into using them. When you're working with CAD data, whether it's SketchUp data, DWG, DGN, you can link this data in or you can embed it. Sometimes it's better just to link it in, because sometimes if you bring the CAD files in and embed it in the file, it can remain there for a bit too long. So good practice is to link a CAD model in. So in this case, I've got a sketch plan that I've created in 2D, a little preview window here coming from AutoCAD. I'm just going to link it in with the standard settings. So I'm just going to preserve the colors, which are your layers. You can also choose which layers to bring in. You can turn them on and off should you want to. And then it's just going to do auto detect on the unit. So it's just going to go and produce them as millimeters. So all of this can be customized. You can adjust this as you bring it in. The defaults are usually pretty good for first-time users. What's great, perhaps if you're collaborating with other users in your office, maybe some of the team aren't ready to make the move into a parametric BIM environment, they could be working up the floor plans and then saving those out, and then you can reload these floor plans, these DWG files, back into Revit. So you just hit the reload button, kind of like an XREF command, link it in, and you've got the updated model to work over the top of, or parts of the Revit model that you've built will follow that linked plan as well. So very simply, just to make that move into the 3D environment, there's tools here where you can start to create walls by selecting lines or faces. So whether you bring in a SAT file or a SketchUp model, you can work with the volumetric geometry, or if you're working with 2D vector-based data, you just select the line and instantly it will convert it into a wall. And there's some default settings here for how you want that wall to play. So in this case, it's got a bottom constraint of being on the ground floor, and then its top constraint is level 1. So very quickly, we can use that tool to create our walls, but we can also work with forms as well. So maybe we'll just want to do a sketching volumetric model. You can use these same sort of sketchy tools here to create solids, extrude them up to create a form, and very quickly you've got a massing model of your building. For those of you who maybe want to work with more complex sort of shapes, you can start to set up maybe ellipses or curves, and you can create shapes on certain levels, and then you can create solid forms or geometry between those two shapes assigned to the different levels. So there's all these different ways you can start making conceptual models within the Revit interface. So in this case, I've just gone through that line workflow, and I've just got the perimeter of my building, and I've assigned some walls to each of the two levels for this small architectural office that I'm designing. What you can also do with the volume in the model is you can mass floors. So if you're working with a solid, you can go and select faces, create the walls, but you can also go and select that solid and you can do what's called massing floors. And what it will do is it will break up and create floors based on the levels you've set up in the model. So instantly you're going to have these floor plates set up based on the levels that you desire. And as a quick sketch model, it doesn't need to be a perfect, fully documented, detailed model. It's just a quick SketchUp model to give your team an idea of the form. You don't need to be too accurate here. We can have a few walls overlapping into floors. We can just do some basic openings for a skylight, for a window. We haven't worked out that detail yet, but it's enough to sort of go on to give other team members, consultants, clients an idea of the initial conceptual design. So it's a very quick workflow to bring in the 2D data or your 3D volumes and then start converting it into some basic parametric Revit objects. From here we can work it up a bit more. So what I've got coming up on the screen is a model with a bit more detail in it. And this is using the same principles. I've just brought in some window families, some bench tops. I've set up my basic parametric model here, done a section, a 3D view, and a floor plan with an area schedule here. And I'm going to go through in a bit more detail how these are sort of set up as opposed to doing a picks and click, just to give you a flavor of what you can achieve when you make the move from 2D to 3D. So a lot of the questions I'll get from people making the move from an AutoCAD 2D platform into the 3D platform is the look and the feel and the line weights of the drawings. Like a lot of firms have a particular style that they want to present the drawings or the graphics as. And you can get into Revit and you can do this. So what we have in the Manage tab is what's called Object Styles. And these families, which are kind of like AutoCAD blocks, you can go and customize them. So perhaps in my floor plan layout, I want to show all the workplace stations for certain types of furniture to be shown as a light blue. I can go and I can customize this. I can customize line patterns. I can change materials here, and I can also do line weights. So we've got our projection, which is looking at the surface of the geometry, or a cut when it cuts through the model. We can customize the line weights, and we can get close to matching the traditional rotating pen type line weight scales here as well, with the projection line weight from 1 to 15. Another great thing is the annotation and the scales and the cut and fill and stuff like that. It adjusts automatically when you flick between different types of display detailing. So what I have down in the left-hand corner in the Revit interface is the ability to display coarse, medium, or fine detail of the model. So when I flick from a fine level of detail here, which is showing maybe the makeup on my walls and some of the frame and openings for my door, when I flick to a more coarse level of detail, this will display as being just a solid wall. I've colored it as being red. And it's going to display less information for, say, a 1 to 100 or 1 to 200 drawing. Also, what you'll notice here, if I just go back one, the original scale was at 1 to 50, and that door tag is scaled down a little bit more, so it's more proportionate to a 1 to 50 size drawing. When I move up the scale to 1 to 100, the annotation will increase in size. So there's a bit of intelligence here to scale this information up when you flick between the different scales. Parametric modeling, so this is when all your geometry in the model, it's moving, you're pushing and pulling, you're adjusting your areas, you're moving your walls and your roof heights and floor to floors around. all of this is adjusting simultaneously. There's no refreshing. You don't have to update stuff. It's one model that moves simultaneously. So I want to go over your parametric modeling, how to quickly annotate that model with your tags and keynoting, and then the power of using schedules for scheduling out room areas and things like material schedules as well. So when you make a change to a wall, whether it's in plan, section, elevation, or in the 3D view, it updates in all views. So I can select this wall, I could lock it if I don't want to move it around, or I can push and pull it, I can change the angle, and in both my elevation, my section, and my 3D views, it's all going to update instantaneously. The other thing you can do is you can create relationships between objects. So certain things you want to move with that wall. So in this case, this outer wall here, I want to lock it in with my roof and my floors, and perhaps even some of this aligned stacking furniture. So what I can do is I can select these objects and lock them in with that wall. So when that wall moves, the other associated objects move with it. Another great thing here is when you work with what's called temporary dimensions. So these are just little dimensions that show up in a light blue. And when you select a wall, it's instantly going to give you these temporary dimensions. And in this case, these ones are defaulting between the inside face of the walls. It's going to tell me what that dimension is. And I can either move the wall and see the numbers update, or I can just type in the dimension I want, and that wall will move to that size. And there's other things you can do, like you can lock down one of the walls, so that may be the outside of the wall, and you always wanted to move the wall inside. You can create these different relationships and drive the geometry by using temporary dimensions. Should you want to lock down certain information and not accidentally move it, you've got new for the 2014-2015 release is down in the bottom right hand corner is these tools that you can turn on and off so you don't select things like LinkedIn models or faces or levels. You can pin these items down, and when you cross out one of these little tools here, it will never allow you to select the pinned items. So if you're just wanting to move your walls and your doors around but not affect your slabs or your floor finishes, just use the pin tool to lock it down, and then turn off the pin selection tool, and then you'll never accidentally move it in the model environment. Callouts are really easy. So this is where you start moving down the scale. So you're going from 1 to 50 to 1 to 20 for a wall section. Typically what a lot of users on big projects, they don't go beyond, say, 1 to 20. They'll work up maybe more detailed components in 2D at the 1 to 10, 1 to 5, 1 to 2, 1 to 1. It just depends on how you want to manage the data and the information in that data. But a quick workflow here for our 1 to 50 cross-section in the building. We're just doing a basic red-filled wall here, but we want to do a 1 to 20 wall detail. So what we do is we have a call-out tool, and we just grab a window around that wall section, and we create a new view at 1 to 20, and we can turn on the fine detail, and then we can start working up more information in that 1 to 20 call-out. So it's very easy to do, and when you make changes again to that push-pull relationship in the model, it's going to update not only in a section, but it's going to update in your call-out view here as well. You don't need to put in a huge amount of information into the detailing of the model should you not want to. What we do have that ships with the version of Revit with the Australian installation is profiles. In this case, we've got a 2D profile section of a standing seam roof, a metal deck here. So what we can do is we can bring that in as a 2D RFA, which is a family file, and load that into our model as an overlay, and we can potentially work up that family. You can also link in your CAD data as well. What's on the screen here also is keynoting. So for those of you who use NatSpec for your keynoting, they have a BIM section on their website where you can download a text file, load it into your Revit database, and then you can do your keynoting with the NatSpec keynote. So it's got the numerical number here for keynoting of certain components. Also, you've got the automated tagging and material tagging. So here I've got some material tagging, and that's reading the data from that wall makeup. So I've got some Corten steel, some plywood, gypsum wallboard. All of that is, I'm not having to manually type it in. I'm reading it directly from the intelligence or the information sitting within that wall type. Of course, you can also do standard text and spell checking and all that stuff that you want to manually do. But this is just a tool that's going to help speed up your workflow here. Another great thing is, of course, you can keep on linking in those details. So maybe you've got a library of CAD details that you've used for years on projects. You can reuse that data. Maybe a manufacturer has a 2D CAD block on their website. You can download that and link it into your Revit environment and place it on the sheet. So what we have here is a flashing detail for my parapet. I'm not going to be doing all of that detail in Revit. I could if I really wanted to, but I don't need to. I just want to have this as a detail for the roofer who's going to be doing this. I can link that in via that CAD link, and then I can also customize the layers. Maybe I don't want all the detail in these layers. I want to turn some of them off, or I want to customize some of the object styles. So you can see here, this is the layers that have come in, and here's all my line colors, and I can override these line colors, play around with the projections to get that that depth or that weight of the lines that are coming in. Once you've worked up all your views, your plans, section elevations, call-outs, you've linked in your parapet details, your 2D data, you can start placing the information on sheets. When you place it on the sheet, what happens is the section marker reads the drawing number from the sheet. So there's a bit of intelligence here. So when you first go into a section, the section marker is not going to give you alphanumeric number. It's going to be blank. Only when you place that section on the sheet and you give it a drawing number will that section call out be populated. And of course, as projects push and pull, we have more sections, or we need to reorder our drawing numbers. When we change it on the sheet, it's going to update it in that section view. So there's some really cool intelligence here that's going to save you a bit of time when you're doing your documentation for your print output. Another cool thing is you can place numerous views on sheets. So perhaps I'm wanting to have one AO drawing, and I want a lot of information on it. I don't want to have several A3 drawings. I want to have my 1 to 20 section drawing, my call out. I also want to have my 2D parapet, and then I also want to have a little cropped 3D view here with some annotation and some keynoting on it for a contractor to better understand how my specific junctions go together. So all of this data can be placed on a sheet, and it can all be read on one continuous interface here. Another really fast tool is the ability to be able to do your room areas and material schedules and tagging that information. So within the architecture tab, you've got the ability to do your room areas. And when you go to do your room areas, it will tag automatically on placement. You can turn this on and off should you want to. But it will instantly find the boundaries of that room. You can also set up your own bespoke boundaries should you're working with an open plan office and you want to designate certain areas for certain schedules. It has the automated tag, which you can customize. But in this case, it's got by default, it's a room for the naming, which we can change. It has a number. And then it gives you an automated square meterage here. And again, all of this can be customized should you want to change the type of font or how you want the graphics to display. Yeah, this can be customized. The other thing you can do is you can create a color scheme. So we want to show certain areas, maybe for the plant rooms, you want to show them as being grey. For the bathrooms, they need to be a light green, and for the hallways, a yellow. You can create these color schemes here with Pantone room colors, and you can use those to automatically fill in the colors of those rooms. So you don't need to go and create an enclosed polyline or use bpoly to fill it in and then add colors in that manually. It's going to do it for you automatically. Also automatically in the background is your room schedule. So you can go to your views and go to your schedules up here in the ribbon here, and you can create what's called a room schedule, and that's instantly going to create a count of the different spaces inside of your model. It's going to assign it to a certain level, so you can adjust the fields and the way you want to record this information. And not only is it going to do that, it's going to record the name of that room, and then you can even set up certain parameters to record, say, the floor finish or the ceiling finish or the wall finish. So there's a number of different things that you can schedule out from that model. When you come to do the tagging, by default, inside of your library, you've got all these different types of tags. Some of them have a suffix at the end, which means it's geared up for the Australian market. But you can go and create your own. So we've got area tags, casework tags, revisions, special equipment. All of this stuff can be loaded in. And what we've done here is we've loaded in an annotation tag for a door. And we've gone through and instantly tagged them. If you don't like leaders, you can turn the leaders off here. So in the properties box here, you can turn that off. You can adjust the orientation. You can adjust the bubble to make it look the way you want it to make it look. And likewise, again, what's happening in the background here is we've got all the stuff being populated. We can go and schedule it out. So we've got family types for the different types of doors. So maybe some of them are flush finish, maybe some of the pocket sliders, some of them are disabled doors. All of that data can be scheduled out with the leaf width and height, materials, manufacturers. You can get that out into your schedule tables. For those of you familiar with omni-class and uni-class or uni-format, you can start to use this information to drive parametric data back from the schedules back into the model. So sometimes maybe it doesn't have all the information in those data sets and the families. You can go and add this information within the schedules and then populate it back into the model. So what I've got here is I'm wanting to use the uniformat classification, so I've added another parameter here, and I want to dive down a bit deeper and look at, say, the movable furnishings. So what I can do is I can get this uniformat classification code, and I can push that back into the furniture that I'm scheduling out. So this could be used further downstream should you have to hand over an as-built model and it needs to be used in a building facilities management program. A lot of this data can be prepared via the schedules and then sent out to the building owner. Another cool thing that came out in the 2015 release that our users have been asking for a while is images within schedules. So if you're doing something like a lighting schedule, so I populated this design with some nice Egosini light fittings. It's scheduling out things like the illuminance or the lux of each light fitting, but also I want to put in my schedule an image, a bit of a graphic to show what that light fitting is. I can go and create what's called an image parameter, and then it's going to schedule it out, and I can then bring that schedule onto my my sheet, and that graphic's going to show up here. So what I've got is my tables of all my Egosini light fittings, some of the information or the detailed information on some of the parameters that I'm recording out, the illuminance, and then also my image within that schedule. And over to the right here is the website on where to get it. You could have codes for those particular light fittings. So really cool stuff here in the schedules to enhance the information you're wanting to communicate to other stakeholders. Likewise, you can schedule out not only objects in the models, you can do material takeoffs. So the material takeoffs, whenever you need to find schedules, they're in the View tab here. Just do a drop down and you can do your material takeoff. This is where you're diving a little bit deeper into the actual materials that make up, say, like a wall family in your model. So this is the interface. So I'm going to do a material takeoff. I'm going to grab my walls. I'm going to look at the new construction. You could do a material takeoff of existing construction. And I'm going to bring in some parameters here from the Fields tab. So in this case, I want my family and type. And I'm going to bring in things like material area, material cost. And then when it comes to doing my takeoff, I can sort and group certain fields here. And then down the bottom here, I can turn on my grand totals to give me my title count and totals here and my grand total. So the results here, which I'll show you in just one second, is a table of information that we're extracting from the wall family. This is a system family. So when you make a wall, it's going to give you the option to add, say, an outer cladding. In this case, I was wanting to use Corten steel, a membrane layer, a thermal layer, the structural component, and then the internal layers. What I can do for the area of that material for Corten steel is I can start to add more information inside of that material. So in this case, I could add a manufacturer, maybe a model number. I want a cost, a URL to their website, and then some keynote and type mark information. So with that embedded within the material, I can then start to use it in my schedules. So when I run that material schedule and I'm recording some of those fields, I can then see my material area. So one of the ones here, I've got 73 square meters of area on that wall, and then I've got a material cost. So it could be $45 or $300 per square meter, and then I've got things like my keynotes. What I can do is if I want to do a calculation of the cost times the area, is I can add in a little formula. So there's numerous blogs and websites dedicated to giving you formulas for this. So what I've added is I've just added another calculated value. So it's just in here you've got a calculated value parameter here for the schedule fields. I can just give it a name, so it's material area cost, and the formula is material area times material costs per meter. And then what I have here in the schedules is the resulting cost. So this is the 73 square meters times 45, giving me 3,300 for my cost. So a point to note here, I actually just used a text parameter as opposed to a currency parameter. So make sure you use a currency parameter for the output here, otherwise you get a lot of numbers after the decimal point. So minor thing, but it's a great way for you to start calcing up your costs if you're working with expensive materials and you need to work out or report back to the client how much is this going to cost. So you can do this very easily with the material takeoff inside of Revit. So to stay on time, so we're doing well for time. It's 12:35 here in New South Wales. We're going to launch into families. So what's great about the industry now is that there's a huge amount of third-party manufacturers and third-party developers making families for you to use. You don't have to go and make these from scratch. You can find a wealth of information out there where you can bring families into your model of chairs and light fittings. You don't have to make these. So it's not as daunting as what it was, say, 10 years ago when the manufacturers weren't really on board with this. When you install Revit for the first time, so your Revit LT version, you've got the ability to add or remove features. So when you get the splash screen, go to Add or Remove Features and select the content that you want to install. So no one wants US Imperial. We're going to go for US Metric. And if you scroll down, you're going to find the Australian and New Zealand Content Pack. So make sure you install those. And you're going to get the templates and all the stuff that's needed for getting you up and running very quickly with Revit out of the box. If you're working on a network, you can install these on your network. In this case, I'm just putting it on my C drive, but you can choose another drive should you want to. You just customize the file locations. So all my templates, they're just in certain locations here on my C drive. And then I've started to look at other file locations for, say, my family templates, point clouds, and my default path for some of my files. So you can see here I've got C drive for my templates, G drive for my models and my families, and then F drive for my point clouds. So all of this can be customized to suit your business's networks. And then when I want to go and start with a template, I can browse, and there's all these different mechanical, plumbing, structural systems templates for me to start off with. And of course, your company's customized one. Once you've done your first project, so let's say you've been designing on the fly and you've got families from here and you save stuff and it's all in your model. Instead of having to manually take that out, you can extract the families from your first project and reuse it on your next project. So it's a great way to capture all that data and then save it out. Maybe it's for your healthcare project, retirement villages, residential design, office fit-outs. Save it out, and you've got all your families located in one location for the rest of the team to use on another project. If you want to start creating families from scratch, you just start with a template. So there's a lot of simple one here for maybe doing furniture or for your casework, for your joinery. And then if you want to get a little bit more advanced, we've got these grayed out ones which are for more advanced, what we call adaptive components. And this is for families that have certain relationships and rules and formulas within them. If you want to find families online instantly within Revit, you can load the family here. So you just go to your insert, load the family from your database, or you can go and click on the little search tool just next to the load family, and you can go and search Autodesk Seek. And this is where you can bring in a lot of information from manufacturers directly into your model. You just type what you want, Windows. It's going to give you thousands of different windows to choose from. So some of them are supplied here in Australia. So you've got things like GenWeld or Caroma. They're all hosted here on the site. But if you want to find top quality Australian content, I'd strongly recommend you check out A2K's design content for the Australia and New Zealand marketplace. They've got a really good strong skill set of a team making manufacturers' products, and you can subscribe to this via A2K, and you can download a huge amount of stuff. You just log in, you go through and choose all the information you want, pivot doors, slider doors, anything you can think of. You can see there's some names here, like there's AWS for some doors, Boral. All of this stuff is geared up for the localized market. So subscribe, grab the information, drop it on your model, spend more time designing, less time making customized families with the design content here. Fantastic site. I'd strongly recommend it. Just to mention a couple of other third-party ones, so in the UK and in Scandinavia, there's a lot more mandates going on. So in Scandinavia, they've been doing this for a long time. They've got a website called BIM-Object. In the full version of Revit, you can actually get the add-in, and you can browse directly from within Revit, just like with Autodesk Seek, to grab information. What we're starting to see is a few more manufacturers from Europe coming over to Australia. So Schuko are now supplying their doors and windows over this way. So you can go and get data sets and detailed components from this website. Caroma is another one. I really like Caroma fittings and finishes, so you can go to their site, or it's available on the A2K Design content. You can grab this information, load it into your Revit environment. Thorn have also done lighting. So it's not just geometry for lighting, it's actually the IES data. So if you're doing wall washes or you're working with halogen or fluorescent lights, there's a lot more information that you can load in, and you can start to do visuals to show how that light's going to illuminate your particular design. So moving on from families into Autodesk 360. So to be clear, this is when you purchase the products, you can choose to get it with subscription, and this is where you get access to Autodesk 360, and this is where you've got tools to enable you to store a lot of data on the cloud, do photorealistic rendering, and also do some basic conceptual energy analysis. So I'm just going to take you over some of the visuals, how to do some rendering, and then show you how you can use your storage. And if you do have any questions, so I see there's a few more coming in here. I will answer the questions towards the end. Just type them in as you go. And just a reminder, you are all muted, just so we don't talk over each other. So just type in the questions into the question box, and I will endeavour to answer them at the end of the webinar. So very quickly, setting up cameras, it's just point and shoot, go into a plan view, go to your 3D view, click a camera, and very quickly create a 3D view of your model here. I just want to make sure that this is updating. So you can get a quick 3D view of your design. What you can also do here is you can use displaced elements. This is both in Revit and Revit LT. We just don't have the divided parts in Revit LT. But you can do these exploded axonometric. So you can duplicate a 3D view. It's not going to affect your main model, and you can do these little cool exploded axonometrics. So if you're wanting to do a presentation, you want to show maybe the walls and some of the furniture coming off the model, so you can communicate both the internal relationship with the external relationship. You can use displaced views here, which are kind of cool. You can also flip the background options if you want to have that sort of old school inverse with the black background. You want to look more like your AutoCAD. You can do this should you want to. And we can do an exploded axonometric. We can use keynote tagging, type mark tagging, material tagging, all within that locked 3D exploded axonometric view. You can do it in perspective as well. So you can do a camera view. It doesn't have to be that locked axonometric. You can do a nice sort of perspective here. You can, again, lock that view. Down the bottom here, you've got the ability to lock a 3D view, so you're not going to move away from it. You can turn on shadows, ambient shadows. You can also customize how you want those elements to display. So in this case, for this particular graphic, I wanted to make my floors and my ceiling a bit more transparent so I can see more of the information on the floor plate. And then I pulled my walls and curtain walling and a bit of furniture off the wall. And then for my dash lines going back to the origin point, I've made them a red dash. So all of that can be customized to suit your company's graphics that you want to present. And again, this isn't a render. This is just a straight graphics outside of the program. I was at a customer this morning who does a lot of traceovers by doing the sketch sort of look and feel. You can do this inside of Revit. So new for 2015, we released Sketchy lines. So the two tools here, you can turn on Sketchy lines and you can have a jitter, and that sort of gives you kind of a wavy, wobbly line. And then you can also turn on extension, and I can do that nice sort of crosshair sort of finish on the edge of the drawing. And then I can also customize how I want my materials to display. So even if you want to show a sketch sort of look and feel, you can do it inside of Revit. You don't need to print it out and then hand draw over it and then Photoshop it. Just do it inside of Revit and then tell your customer it's a sketch. Should you want to add more services, so some of you may already be sending out your designs to third-party graphic artists, and they'll take it into Max and they'll work it up and do some fantastic renders for you to present. The thing is, they're not going to do it for free. You've got to pay them, and then you've got to pass the bill on to the client. You can bring that resource in-house with Autodesk 360 Cloud Rendering. So what we have here is the ability to render on the cloud. Just a quick note. In Revit LT, you can't render natively on the product. You've got to have cloud rendering on subscription. So you need to buy cloud credits. You can buy 100 for about $100 US, give or take the currency exchange rate. But you get these cloud credits which allow you to do rendering on the cloud. So instead of having to upgrade and buy a new expensive machine with an expensive graphics card, you can leverage the cloud to do your calculations for you. So by clicking that render on the cloud, we get this little render in the cloud pop-up, the Autodesk 360 pop-up. You choose the view you want to render, the output type, just a still image, render quality final. The size I'm going for is maybe an A4, A3 print, so made it large, and then exposure is set to being advanced, and I want a PNG or a JPG or a TIFF output. And you can see here it's going to take 2 cloud credits. So this would be like kind of a presentation render. I'm very lucky working for Autodesk. You can see I've got about 4 million cloud credits. But it doesn't take that much to do a render. And it does it about 32 times faster than a standard desktop processor. So these are the type of renders I can get within minutes. So this is from the Revit model, just using some basic settings, and I can get some quite nice graphics. And this is the type of thing I could put in front of my client to show them what that particular space is going to look and feel like. I can even use what's called a decal over the top of this projection screen here. I can like have a nice graphic as a JPG inside of the Revit model. I don't have to go into post-production to add all this information in. What I'm going to be flicking up here is just some quick renders that I've done of this model, and you can get a quick idea of how the light's coming into this small architectural office, the light that's projecting from the light fittings onto the surface of the desks and the work areas, also my light fitting that's hanging down over the skylight space for us architects who like to work till 4 in the morning. So all of this is a very quick and easy way to get some nice presentations showing all the bespoke materials, the lighting, the furniture layouts to our clients or to our team that we're collaborating with. Another cool thing is we've got some other tools for post-production, so you can take it into Autodesk Pixlr tool if you want to do some quick tweaks. So this is the raw render for the outside of the building. I can take it into Pixlr, which is like a web-based post-production application. We can take it from this through to the next adjustment just to make the materials jump a little bit more. So by making a few quick tweaks with a bit of depth of field, maybe contrasting the materials, the timber slats here, I can get a slightly nicer graphic which I can put down in front of my client. Another cool thing is we can do what's called panorama views. So this is where you can actually render a 360 viewer in the cloud, and then you can share it with a client. So I'm going to quickly just grab this link, and I'm going to just go into my Google that I've just grabbed from my screen. So you can send it to a client, hit return, and what these are my 360 view of that office. So what I'm going to do is and I can look at anything in that model as a little 360 viewer. So I can spin around and then pause and look at maybe my building space, see my fittings, I can see the glow from that IES data, I can see how the light's coming in, the natural light's coming into that space at that time of the day, and I can also spin around and finish looking up at my skylight, and I can get an idea of the amount of lights at space. So this is something that you can render out. It takes maybe about 6 cloud credits. You can save that link and you can send it out to anybody. So for those of you who can see the chat window, I'm going to paste that in there. So anybody can click that and they can see that exact same model and they can view that office space. What we also have coming into Autodesk 360 are tools like lighting analysis. So this is where you can record daylight illuminance coming into the space. So you can see here we've got some lux levels showing where the light's coming into the office space and where it isn't, where it's a little bit cooler, where there's some dark areas. There's another one called turntable over here on the right. And I'm going to attempt, I'll come back to this at the end. Turntable is like a little animated sort of GIF. So you run a turn to animation and it does a little fly around on the model. So that's kind of cool. Something that's brand new is our virtual reality tool. So you can save your virtual reality render, send it to your iPhone, and then you can buy one of these little little goggle viewer things. You can get them on eBay. There's something on our blog about it. You place your iPhone inside the goggles, and you've got a little virtual reality viewer here. So on the A2K website or on the A2K YouTube channel, Chad Smith has done a little blog about this. I'd encourage you to check it out. It's pretty cool. And he just shows you how you can get access to this, render your model, put your iPhone inside this little viewer, and then do a little virtual reality walkthrough of your model. If you want to go a little bit further with your renders, like maybe you want to have that as a service that you can provide internally as opposed to sending it out of house, on our Rendered and Speeches blog, I recently just did a post on how you can take a Revit model, render on the cloud with some of the settings I've just shown, and then take it into a post-production application, which is Pixlr, or you could do this in Photoshop as well, and you can get some quite nice graphics. So this is a little bathroom model that I put together with the Caroma fittings, and there's just a workflow to show you how you can get a nice little render out in a very short amount of time using Autodesk 360 cloud rendering. Finally, in this section, we have cloud documents. So again, if you're on subscription, you get access to a certain amount of storage space. So I've got 500 gigabytes, but I think for standard level subscription, you can have between 20 and 100, depending on your level of subscription service. By default, you can get a free cloud storage for you get 3 gigabytes, I think. What's great here is I can save all my models, all my PowerPoint presentations, my animations, different folders that I want to share with other users on the cloud. So what I have here in these folders is these little profiles of people that I'm sharing it with. So when I click on the folders, I can see that I've shared it with the engineer or the mechanical guy or maybe a client, and I can give them certain rights. So maybe some of them I just want them to view online, or others I want to allow them to download it and make adjustments, then re-upload it. All these permissions can be done, so it's a great way, as opposed to having an FTP site or a Dropbox. You can use this as part of your subscription to share the data and also view the data. You can even open up Revit models for viewing via your Autodesk 360 account. So to stay on time and to allow a bit of time for Q&A, I just want to finish off with the building design suites and just highlight 3 programs that could be of use to you. One is Recap, that's like using laser scan data, point cloud data. 3ds Max Design if you want to do animations and high-end renderings. And Navisworks Simulate. This is a great tool that comes in the premium, which allows you to walk through the model, do markups, do construction logistics, and it also reads over 56 different file formats. So it's a great way to open up different types of models from other collaborators. So for those of you who haven't seen laser scanning, what's fantastic these days is the surveyors are going out with a Faro or a laser or like a laser scanner, and they're able to create these point clouds from numerous scan locations. So this is one that's provided from myself, from Brett Casson. You can see he's got his car. He's one of our internal Autodeskers. He's provided me with this model here, which I can use as the starting point for my building design. So you can see here I've got my Cortian cladding as my kickoff point. And what I can do with this laser scan is I can measure all the detailed information on all that survey data. I don't know if you've done your own measure surveys and you've had to go back and remeasure stuff and check on site. The great thing about point cloud data is you're going to have this perfectly accurate survey which you can open up and recap and measure the information and check it. You can bring in numerous scans and then stitch them together. So in this case we've got maybe half a dozen scans. We've stitched them together in recap. But perhaps if we did a few more, we could get more of Brett's car and maybe more of the neighboring properties, should we need that in our workflow. Within Revit, you can link in the point cloud data. Just a note here, this is in the full version of Revit. You can't do this in Revit LT. But in the full version of Revit, you can link it in and you can start working off over the top of that laser scan information. So what I've got here is my building in the background, and you can see here's my laser scan, and I'm using that to make sure that the information that I'm working off is accurate. So the place of my doors and my windows, I want to make sure that I'm within a millimeter amount of tolerance as opposed to not knowing that information. So it's a really handy tool for those of you doing refurbishment or wanting to check as-built information or working with site survey data. Moving into 3ds Max Design, this is our suite workflows. So this is where you can link a Revit model, just like an XREF in AutoCAD, into Max Design, and you can use it to start doing compelling animation and more advanced visualizations. So it's a really powerful tool if you want to provide that as a service, or maybe you want to use it for marketing, or you're trying to bid for a job or win a competition. You can link that data in, and all the geometry and the lighting and the camera and the materials from my Revit model is coming through into 3ds Max Design. You can also bring in that point cloud data as well. So I can link in the point cloud data into Max along with my Revit model, and I can do some basic renders like this. So if I had a bit more background information, if I bring back to do a bit more scanning, I could have all of that context of that house and the cars, or I could tell them to move the car out of the way. And I can use my Revit model. So what you're seeing here is the Revit geometry combined with the laser scan point cloud geometry for my context rendered in 3ds Max Design. I don't need to go into a post-production application and stitch photographs and that together. I can use the 3D geometry, and I can go from here to do animations as well. Finally, I want to close out with Navisworks. So this is the Simulate version. It doesn't do clash detection. That's Navisworks Manage. You'd have to go to the Ultimate Suite to get that, or buy Navisworks Manage as a standalone application. But with Navisworks Simulate, you've got the ability to do timeliner and quantification, should you want to do more advanced takeoffs of materials and areas and schedules. You can also open up numerous file formats. So there's about 56 different file formats, and these are all the different versions. So if you're collaborating with Frank Gehry and you need to open up some CATIA, or you need to open up different file formats, even Adobe Photoshop PDF data, you can open this up and bring it into Navisworks. It's a really powerful tool for opening up all these different file formats. And for maybe the non-Revit user in your company, maybe they still want to get inside the model and do their markups instead of you having to print it out. They go and red pen mark it up, then they scan it, and you bring it all back. You can do this inside Navisworks. So they can open up the Revit model in Navisworks, and they can walk through the model intuitively. They can read all the family parameters in here, and they can go and add comments. So they can do a little point revision cloud markup. Revise that decharge junction. They can see that that railing needs a bit more attention, and they can make it new, active, approved, or resolved, and then send that out to the team to make revisions. So it's a really powerful tool for other users who may not be doing the building information modeling authoring. It allows the other users, like the directors or the associates, to get inside the model and review it and do markups. Okay, so to finish up, so the call to action, so hopefully most of you know that you can get 30-day free trials from Autodesk. If you want to get training, like more bespoke training, the resellers are great on this. A2K has got a really strong team of some highly skilled individuals who can help you with training and customizing the templates and helping your company to get up to speed really quickly. Revit LT is a great package, but what we're finding is some users who start off, they're small companies, having 1 or 2 copies of the building design suites is really beneficial should you want to have access to Navisworks or Recap or 3ds Max Design. Also check out the subscription services. So you can buy your cloud credits, you can store your data. It's a really powerful tool should you want to do cloud rendering. And I've made my email available here. Any questions, I'm more than happy for you to email me. I'd be happy to field any questions if you don't have time to send them out today. So speaking of questions, I'm going to get into the questions here. I'm just going to bring down the Dropbox, so just bear with me so I can read the questions. Fantastic. Okay, so question number one from Ian. I'm just going to read them out for the group. So Ian's actually left. He was muted. Yeah. Okay, so moving on for Michael Hughes. So the question is, for those who use LT to produce house plans for council and have no need for a lot of the bells and whistles, is there an advantage in upgrading to Revit LT? Does it take more or less time to create a set of house plan documents? So yeah, for producing your areas and schedules and adjusting your plans, sections, elevations, I would definitely use Revit LT as opposed to doing AutoCAD LT. Numerous projects that I've worked on in the past when I've done smaller jobs, and there's always that pushing and pulling, or you've got to update stuff. Sometimes, you know, when you go to update drawings, you miss things, and then they get printed and they get issued, and then the builder's calling you up saying, oh, look, this doesn't align with this. You know, can you send me a revised set of drawings, or we're going to change this, and then the job doesn't get built right. So Revit LT is a great way to help you to coordinate your general arrangement drawings. And of course, if you buy it in a Revit LT suite, you get a copy of AutoCAD LT anyway, and that's going to help you with your house plan documents, your coordination, and then you can still use your detailing, your 2D detailing within the Revit LT workflow as shown. Next question is from Kathy Rovery. Can you link in your 2D AutoCAD and then have Revit do room areas as a schedule for Part J compliance calcs for lighting? That's a good question. I'm not familiar with the compliance calcs for lighting. What I would say with that, you'd probably need to bring in your lighting plan and then populate it with your walls, your ceilings, and then host your Revit light fittings in there. And then if you need to do calculations, what we do have is, in the full version of Revit, is a third-party add-in called Illum, and I'll just bring this up on my screen now. We've got the Exchange, Autodesk Exchange, and Illum. What we have for the lighting designers is Illum tools. So just to highlight, you do need to forward this into your Revit environment. In lighting calculations, you can get a trial of this, and what it does is it takes the IES data and it records some of that information here inside of Revit. So you can see here some wall washes, and it's recording the illuminance levels. It's got a pseudo color overlay here as well, and there's a few more other tools for recording, say, the faces of walls. So it's getting a lot of good ratings inside of the Revit Exchange here. So I think if you are doing lighting calcs, trial it, and then if you do have any questions, drop a note to the Illum tool team about how it can be in compliance for Part J. Okay, so if anybody does have any more questions, happy to answer them in the chat or inside of the question dialog box just over here on the right-hand side of the viewer. And for those of you who want to maybe email me questions later, my email address is down at the bottom of the screen here. Or of course you can get in contact with A2K directly, and they'll be able to field any questions, and they've got a great team there who can help you get set up on this platform. Okay, so it looks like there's no more questions, so I'm going to thank you for attending today's webinar, and thank you to A2K for allowing me to be the presenter today. So please feel free to get in contact. Thank you for your questions, and you've got my email address. I'm more than open to field any questions should you get started on Revit and want to know about any workflows or workarounds, etc. Okay, thank you very much. I will end it there, and this copy or the recording will be available, I believe, later on the A2K YouTube website. Thank you.